stop selling certainty to people who've never experienced it. The traditional game feels rigged.
In a rigged system, a lottery ticket might be the most logical choice. I'm John Gerzema from the Harris Poll.
And I'm Libby, Rodney, Chief Strategy Officer. And we're the hosts of the new Bubbler Media podcast.
So get this. Each episode, we break down new cultural insights grounded in our research that forces you to rethink what you thought you knew. So get this. Libby, we have great jobs, don't we?
I love what we do.
We're both pollsters. We love data, but we also love stories, right? Because I think behind data are real people. Numbers are human beings. Can you talk a little bit about how you sort of approach that at the Harris Poll?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my favorite thing about working here is that I get to ask anything that I want, and I get to dig into all the niches of culture that are happening in the real moment. So we go out and we pulse the American public every single week and understand what are the emerging needs, desires that are coming out of the consumer set. We're also in field globally every single day with lots of clients. So what's cool about what we're doing is we see about 10,000 signals about what is going on in the world. And then our big job is to figure out where is the real meaning in that. It's what most people end up missing. They just see numbers, where you and I, we see context and meaning, but also market opportunities.
So interesting. And Libby, one of those signals that we're going to study today involves witches, right? The idea behind this story is lottery over logic. And today we're going to dig in on why you need to stop selling certainty to people who have never experienced it.
Let's dig in. So I'm at this dinner party. There's lawyers and architects and tech people, and everyone's doing well professionally. So what is the conversation of the day? It's real estate, right? Because it's Brooklyn.
Of course.
And everyone's talking about how they've been looking for 2 to 3 years, the bidding wars, cash offers, the usual nightmare. And then this architect, she says that she actually hired a witch to help her get a house.
Wait, hold on. A witch? And at this dinner party?
Yeah. And she's like, I'm not joking. I got this spell book from Instagram and it cost me $500.
And everyone laughed?
That's the thing. No one laughed. Like, people were asking for the content because here's the kicker.
No.
Yeah. She closed on a place in Park Slope 2 weeks later. So I guess you would say it worked.
So wait, you're telling me, Libby, that architects and lawyers are using witchcraft for real estate?
Well, what I think the big underlying thing here is, like, when the system stops working for people who understand systems,
they're going to try anything.
That's right.
So that dinner party story, Libby, really had us pulling numbers at the Harris Poll all week. And we found something bigger happening, right?
Yeah, we're calling it, you and I were talking about this idea of lottery over logic.
Here's what we mean. So 4 in 10 Gen Z and millennials are turning to witches for major financial decisions.
Yeah, which is why if you go to Etsy right now, spells are trending. It's like one of the top things that Etsy is selling to people, which is crazy.
Completely crazy. And only 6 in 10 believe that path to wealth is alternative assets, crypto and gambling and NFTs.
Yeah, so I think that's like crazy. We've been following crypto for years, gambling, and what you see out of that element, and also that over half of Gen Z and millennials believe that manifestation works better than compounding interest, is that people need to take a bet. They're finding some agency in this. Like, they're not betting on the logic. The logic doesn't exist anymore, so they're betting in the lottery element of this.
I mean, it's really fascinating. So if they're choosing lottery over logic, not because they don't understand traditional systems?
Yeah, they've concluded that those systems don't work for them. And what gives me hope is that they're choosing to find a way to create self-agency. Because we've talked about this a lot, and some people think that it's like a very dark sentiment that people are turning to witches and manifestation instead of the logical practices of the world. But actually, we see it as a signal that despite everything, they're still seeking methods of self-agency, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really interesting about Etsy spell casting, and you can kind of write this off a little bit as like a tip of the spear, but it's really not. As you're talking about it, you're saying it can explain sports gambling, it can explain crypto, meme stocks, and this idea that people are buying spells to get jobs, buy homes, and even for their favorite sports teams to win. I remember you and I were talking about the Mariners were 8-0 since somebody in Seattle had cast a spell on Etsy. But what is kind of behind that culturally, Libby?
Yeah, I mean, on a cultural level, too, we see the rise of lucky girl syndrome. It has over 200 million views on TikTok.
My version of lucky girl syndrome, that I am the luckiest girl in the world.
And it's literally a movement about replacing strategy or logical strategy with positive thinking as a form of strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a business level, we can see this already starting to emerge. And I think this is brilliant. If you think, Libby, like about Walmart's prize-linked savings accounts, right?
Yeah.
They kind of understand lottery over logic, right? And they've got $2 billion in deposits.
Yeah, I mean, they're winning because they are using that lottery element. So is McDonald's. McDonald's have brought back the Monopoly game, you know? They're giving customers a chance to win. That is like quintessential lottery over logic.
Even LinkedIn, people are posting about manifesting their next role instead of networking. The platform for logic is going lottery. And, you know, I guess why this matters really is that this idea of lottery over logic, you know, if you think about it, Libby, for decades, businesses have sold rationality, right? Here's the data, here's the ROI, here's the 30-year projection.
And, you know, that worked when people believed in those long-term projections. But when people can't even imagine what the next 5 years look like, how are they going to think about this, right, John? Like, young Americans are trying to save for a house, but they're also looking for an escape fund to leave the country.
I mean, that's, I think, what gets super interesting in this for me, Libby, is this idea that traditionally we might have planned for like one future, right? Get a mortgage, save money, try to get a house, get a little bit of a bigger house. But now today, with the stack crises that we've documented, you know, the poly crisis, all these things that are happening, is that people, especially young people, aren't planning for one future. Kind of in a way, I mean, maybe they're hedging against like multiple apocalypses, do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's what's so interesting. So if you don't recognize that people are planning for these multiple apocalypses, like we saw in our data that people say in this economy, you need at least 3 backup plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you're not addressing that and talking to them in that way, then you're just not aligned with how young people are managing and navigating the world.
Yeah, I mean, so if you come at them with compound interest, I guess is what you're saying, you come at that with logic, you're speaking a language in some respects they've kind of abandoned, right?
That's right.
And it's not because they don't understand it, it's because they don't believe in the world in which it works.
Yeah, the system ultimately, from the signals that we've been collecting from the last 5 years, has just gotten to this conclusion where it feels rigged against people. And so, again, people are finding agency in doing these alternative methods. But for someone who's very logical, this is going to feel very strange that people are turning to magic and mystical things to move on with their life or find some sort of progression.
So, Libby, if you're like an entrepreneur, you've got a startup, you're a business owner, you're a marketer, like what does lottery over logic mean for them?
I think the first thing you want to do is stop selling certainty to people who've never experienced it. If you think about someone who's under 30, they've experienced 2 once-in-a-lifetime crashes. They are experienced once-in-a-lifetime polycrises after another. So there is no sense of certainty anymore.
Yeah, and I guess maybe secondly, tell me what you think about this, like understand your customers. They want agency. They not particularly advice, right? They've got this sense of confidence that they want to build. People definitely in our data don't trust experts. In fact, in a recent Harris poll, Libby, you'll remember 83% of people said that economists may be saying that things are improving, but I'm not feeling it where we live, right? So they trust results. And even if those results, I guess, maybe a little bit like coincidence.
That's right. Yeah. It's just like the architect getting her house. They trust those results. One success story beats 1,000 studies when you're in that lottery over logic mode. And also, social media really amplifies that feeling of success. So one person has success, you hear it.
I hired an Etsy witch and it 100%.
It's pushed on through social media. It feels very personal to you. And that might be the thing that gets you to act in your own self-agency.
Yeah. And I think, this is crucial too, Libby. Your customers, they're not irrational. They're responding rationally to what is a kind of a crazy irrational system.
Yeah, and that's really true. If you want to reach them, you need to acknowledge that the traditional game feels rigged.
Yeah, and I guess Walmart kind of did this perfectly, right? They didn't lecture people about saving. They made saving feel like playing.
Yeah, feel like a lottery. Make it fun, magical. So here's what we want you to walk away with lottery over logic. It isn't about people getting dumber.
No, not at all. It's about smart people concluding that kind of in a rigged system, a lottery ticket might be the most logical choice.
Right, which is why Mr. Beast is handing out those Willy Wonka candy bars again. And it's about your customers, even the lawyers and the architects. They're choosing chance over planning.
Not because they can't do the math.
Because they've done the math on trusting the system, and it doesn't add up. So remember this, lottery over logic. When your customers stop believing in tomorrow, they'll bet on magic today.
So your dinner party conversation starter, 4 in 10 young Americans are consulting witches for financial decisions, and one of them might be designing your next headquarters.
Not because they believe in magic,
but because they've stopped believing in the traditional systems.
I'm Libby Rodney.
And I'm John Gerzema. Thanks for listening to So Get This.
So Get This is a Bubbler Media iHeart podcast production